This story is about Sewol ferry accident, occurred on April 16, 2014. In the accident, among 476 passengers and crew, 295 persons died and 9 persons were missing. An unbelievable situation followed the accident. Excluding the passengers escaped from the ship and the crew saved by the Coast Guard at the first before the ship sank, not a single one was saved after the ship sank. This video is the summary of the scientific reports made by Director Kim, a documentary director, through a program called Papa Is. This video data may be updated depending on the contents to be reported in future. Director Kim was recently requested to produce a documentary by a civil organization in relation to Sewol ferry accident. As he is a film director, he collected and reviewed all the available data to identify where and how the ship sank. He is neither a mate nor a scholar concerned, but he tried to express the accident on maps. In this process, he found lots of matters which deviated from scientific common senses. He decided to disclose them for verification with scientifically interested persons, especially marine professionals. Several terms appear in the reports and you should know them for easy understanding of them. The first term is heading, or HDG. In abbreviation, every ship has a compass called gyroscope. It indicates the angles of a ship head and informs automatic identification system AIS of the angles at 0.1 degree of precision level. The AIS shares the information with the world. The second is COG. Some say COG is very difficult, but most of yacht sailors understand it very well. It's nothing but the track of a ship. As to say, heading is the angle of a ship head which is indicated by a compass, and COG is the past course, that is footprints. COG is not obtained from a compass but is calculated based the data obtained from satellites. You may understand this explanation only when you understand the meaning of difference between HDG and COG. To help your understanding, I invited Elsa from a movie, The Frozen. Imagine that Elsa takes a round singing Let It Go. When Elsa goes straight as shown, that is from the west to the east, the angle is 90 degrees from the north. In this status, COG is consistent with HDG. However, if she starts a turn, COG and HDG become inconsistent. As shown in the screen, when Elsa goes down to the second picture, HDG is 180 degrees. However, look at the footprints. The angle is not 180 degrees. COG appears somewhat later because COG follows the direction of the head. The reason is that HDG is current data but COG is past data. Sewol ferry was designed for high speed and has narrow width. She has better course stability than cargo ships. The course coordinates are expressed within only 1 degree of mean left-right deviation. How did Sewol ferry sail? It was reported that Sewol ferry accident occurred at 0848 or 0849, and I have the same opinion. We will go to the time of 0844:05, that is 5 minutes before the accident. Therefore, I put Sewol ferry in the scale of actual size, that is 146 meters of length and 22 meters of width, on maps. As shown, the direction was changed to starboard by 5.6 degrees, that is at 44:05, 5 minutes before the accident. A ship, Daewoo family, passed nearby Sewol ferry and could know COG of Sewol ferry before and after the accidents. This is the COG of Sewol ferry recorded in Daewoo ferry. The COG was 136.5 degrees as shown. I could obtain the COG data of Sewol ferry from Daewoo ferry's record, and express the real positions of Sewol Ferry based on two ships' information. I told you that the ship veered 5.6 degrees to starboard until 45:35. However, when I put the ship in the previous time point, 45:23, using the COG information obtained from Daewoo family, the ship was found to have sailed to the right up to 136 degrees and then to the left. Also, Sewol Ferry was found to have veered not 5.6 degrees but 7.1 degrees to starboard. Let's look at the map in the opposite position. If Sewol Ferry moved from the lower point at 45:23 to the upper point in such direction, she had to sail to the left and then to the right. As to say, Sewol Ferry sailed zigzag from 2 minutes to 5 minutes before the accident. Such unnecessary direction change would make inadequately fixed cargoes be shaken and worsen the ship balance. In fact, this is the decisive section. Look at the ship at the top. The course is turned to the right, starting at 2 minutes before the accident. The ship has almost 160 degrees of HDG. They say the accident was started at this time point. At that time, the ship sailed at as high as 32.4 kilometers of high speed. Compared with cargo ships, she sailed at as high as 1.5 to 2 times speed. The crew of Sewol Ferry had to veer the ship to the right toward Jeju-do. However, they sailed to the left toward Japan and then to the right. In order to get the direction at the top position, Sewol Ferry had to sail to the left and then to the right, in spite of 32.4 kilometers of speed as I told you above. The crew of Sewol Ferry never says that they veered Sewol Ferry to the left and then to the right, and the government also reports so. Meanwhile, the government says that the data for this very section was lost. However, you are now looking at the real section for the first time. As the ship was veered to the left and then to the right, the angle to turn to the right would be more than 2 times the normal veering angle after straight sailing without left turn. The data of the MOF and the data of a commercial ship passing nearby Sewol Ferry say the same thing. At that time, it was broadcasted that Sewol Ferry turned by 10 degrees for a second, and this news was highly sensational at that time. In fact, the MOF said based on the same data that the turn was made at 08:46:44 rather than 08:46:12, and that the data had been maintained for a while and then was renewed. However, when looking at the data carefully, COG for 140 degrees of HDG appears. Sewol Ferry had 140 degrees of HDG, but the COG, that is her past track, was 134.7 degrees. As to say, it was proved that Sewol Ferry turned to the right after sailing to the left rather than sailing to 140 degrees. Not only the data of a near-commercial ship but also the data submitted to the National Assembly by the MOF is also available. This data also shows COG, that is the past track. The COG before 140 degrees of HDG was found to be 134 degrees. If Sewol Ferry turned to the right, after straight sailing to 140 degrees, the COG such as 136, 135, and 134 degrees cannot appear. However, the data shows 136, 135, and 134 degrees of COG. For 139, 139, and 140 degrees of HDG. Director Kim asserts that the reason for such contradictory data might be modification of the HDG. In a word, it was hidden in COG values of miscellaneous data that she turned to the left and then to the right. Those who prepared this data seem to have poor understanding of COG, and it seems that the COG reported by the government was not modified. When the course was expressed with application of the government COG, same left-right turns were found. Of course, he met and consulted the findings with many mates and professionals and will disclose all the collected data to the persons who watch this program and require the data. A film director achieved this much without investigative power. However, why our prosecution did not find out this matter in spite of mighty investigative power? That's out of the question.